Hello guys, hello everyone. So yeah, everything is done. Good evening, Kirtana. Good evening, beta. So who else have joined? Let me see. Okay. All right. So good evening, guys. It's already 5 o'clock. Then it's better for us to start the class. Okay, if we start the class early, then we can leave early, right? So let me start recording. Hello, guys. Hello, everyone. So good evening once again. And as you know, we were already dealing about the anatomy of the monocot and dicot plants, right? So we have studied already about the stem, root, and leaf. So today we are going to study about the secondary growth. Okay, secondary growth हम पढ़ेंगे. So after that, yes, Anand, there are only 14 or 15 people in the class, but it's not my problem, right? So what can I do with it? My job I'm doing, their job they are not doing. What we can do? But there will be a recording of this class, so you need not to worry. If at all, if any person who was supposed to attend is absent, then they can observe this classes in YouTube. Okay, so they will be in the YouTube. Okay, so yes. Okay, guys. So good evening, everyone. I can see even though 18 people are here, nobody's saying anything on the chat box. This batch is like a very inert batch. Matlab, I have talked to many students, many batches, but this one is God, they don't speak anything at all. I don't know. Good evening, Akshay. Okay, so before starting anything, so let me just take the technical check. Okay, let me know if you're able to hear me properly and is the presentation is visible to you or not. Okay, I have launched the poll. Good evening, Vishal. Okay. I think most of you are able to hear me properly and even the blackboard is visible, I guess. So let me end this poll. Okay. So let's start the class, guys. Without any further ado, let's start. Okay. Okay. So there's a question on the screen. As we were dealing about the anatomy, you have to understand all the cells and cellular organization in the leaf, stem, and root. Okay, so this is the question that is in your screen, and this is dicot leaf. Okay, so this is the dicot leaf passing through the midrib. Okay, so this is passing through the midrib. This part is the midrib ka vascular bundle. And here what you have to do, certain parts have been marked by the alphabets. You have to choose the correct labeling. Okay, so I'm giving you the time. Okay, so that you can observe the options carefully and then I'll launch the poll. Um, Sangappa Subramanya is also there, but he is taking for another batch and I'm taking for another batch. Actually, this was supposed to be the Yudhishthir sir's class, okay, and I'm just taking the class in his stead. Okay, so good evening, Gopika and Sangappa. Okay, yes. Okay, so already I'm getting answers on the chat box. That's very good. So I think now I have given enough time for you to analyze the options. Now I'm going to launch the poll. Okay, so I hope you have glanced at the options and you have observed carefully the picture. Okay, so I'm launching the poll for this question. Okay. I have launched the poll. Take some time, no need to hurry. Okay, but I want correct answers. Okay. Yes, yes, very good, Gopika. Yes, Sachin. Sangappa, actually, I'm not in the group of this Telegram because I'm not supposed to be in this. You can say in this batch. Okay, so I don't have the idea of that. So if you come to my next class, that is on Friday, I will get back the link for you. Okay, for the Telegram link, I'll give it to you. Okay. So right now I don't have it, so please bear with me. Okay. So yeah, I have given enough time. Now I'm ending the poll for this question. Okay, so let me share the results with you. Results are somewhat like this. So most of you, a few have chosen option B, and only few people have chosen the other options. So let us discuss which is the correct answer for this question. Okay, so first of all, whenever we are talking about anatomy, तो पहले देख लेना which are the cells and which kind of organization and arrangement is this. Okay, so what is A, guys? So A is nothing but our favorite epidermis, right? So it is epidermis, and above this epidermis, this layer is nothing but the waxy layer, that is cuticle. Okay, and as this is a dicot leaf, so this is a dicot leaf, so hence there will be three regions here. So what are those regions? So the first will be epidermis, and the second one will be mesophyll. Okay, mesophyll wall is what? Nothing but the cells present in between the leaf. Okay, and then we are going to see the vasculature or vascular bundles. Okay, so this is how you need to explain, right? So this is cuticle epidermis, and in the mesophyll, and as we are talking about the dicot leaf, you're going to see the two types of mesophyll cells, right? So first one is the palisade parenchyma, right? So this is the palisade parenchyma, and another one is spongy parenchyma. Okay, so spongy parenchyma and palisade parenchyma, and I had explained to you in the last class. So palisade parenchyma does the majority of the job related with the photosynthesis. It makes the food, okay, for the plant, and it, it doesn't have much spaces. That is, intercellular spaces are very less, and it's very compact compared to the spongy. So spongy cells are irregular cells, okay, and they have large large cavities. For those cavities, we call them as substomatal cavity or respiratory cavity, which helps in the exchange of gases. Okay, so this is what you need to remember. So these are elongated cells, these are irregular oval kind of cells. Okay, so this B is what? B are elongated, vertically elongated palisade parenchyma, or you can say palisade mesophyll. Okay, these are palisade cells. Okay, and the C are nothing but spongy. Okay, so C is nothing but the spongy mesophyll or spongy parenchyma. D is substomatal cavity. Okay, substomatal cavity are also called as a respiratory cavity. Okay, then E. E is nothing but the stoma or stomata. Okay, so what is left? Huh. So H is a bundle sheath. Okay, H is bundle sheath, and G is nothing but xylem, and F is phloem. So these are the labelings of the given diagram. Am I not audible to you guys? Many people are not saying, saying that I'm not audible. Okay, give me a second. Now am I audible? Yes? Okay. Yes, Chiran. Yes, yes. Actually, I saw that. I did that mistake. Okay. So in my mind, I had that. Okay. Open with KVM, closed without KVM, Chiran. But what happened while explaining, I just did that slight mistake. Okay. But I have explained it later on. Okay. So whenever we're explaining about the vascular bundles, when there is a presence of KVM, we say that as open. When the KVM is absent, we say that closed. Okay. So okay, just the writing mistake, beta. इधर उधर हो गया है वो. Okay, so I hope now I'm audible, right? Yeah. So let us see here which is the option for this one. So this is very easy. Okay, as soon as you know understand the cellular organization, it will be very easier for you. So A is epidermis, B is palisade. Okay, C is spongy. Okay, so this is the wrong option. Spongy, yes. So D is substomatal cavity, but here it's written stomata. C is also not the option. E is guard cell. Yeah, it is guard cell. Or you can say stoma. Both are nothing but the same. Stomata, stoma, guard cell, सब एक ही होता है. Okay, so E. Yeah. See, this is stoma and these are guard cells. Okay, so these are guard cells. Okay. So here also it's written guard cells. No. Okay. Right. So stoma, F is phloem, G is xylem, and H is bundle sheath. So B is the answer for this question. Okay. Do you have guys any doubt? Yes, yes, Chiran. Some of the questions are previous ones, but they're not exactly previous, but they are asked in, the previous years. Okay. So they're asked in previous years. So Anjali saying screen is not visible. Uh, See, I think screen is visible. There might be some issue with your internet. You can do one thing. Please go out of the meeting and then rejoin. Okay, then you might rectify the problem of this. Okay, so this is about the TS of dicot leaf, and you know the TS of monocot leaf. And monocot leaf is called as isobilateral, right? So it will be having both upper epidermis, lower epidermis, adaxial and abaxial, right? Yeah, yeah. So after that, there will be chlorenchyma cells. Okay, the normal parenchyma cells with lot of chloroplast. Okay, and then vascular bundles. So everything we studied this in the last class. Now there's another question on the screen. The most easiest question. Okay, no any difficult concept is here. So match the followings and choose the correct option. So column one may they have given cuticle, bulliform cells, stomata, and epidermis. In column 2, they have given guard cells, outer layer, waxy layer, empty colorless cells. Okay, so this is easy one. I'm going to launch the poll now. Okay, first of all, I will give you some seconds and then I will launch. Okay, by then you can analyze. Okay, because once I launch the poll, that poll will cover your screen. So it will be problematic for you. That's why I gave some time. As soon as I get one or two answers, I launch the poll. Good evening, Ashwin. Okay, so now I'm getting the answers. Now I'm going to launch the poll. Okay. Yes, yes, yes. Look at the look at the terminologies carefully. And this is related with the structure. Okay, anatomical structure. Gopika didn't answer it. I'm waiting for you in the YouTube. Very good, Darshan. Uh, no, Anjal, no. You need to look at the options once again. Okay. Yes, Ashwin and Gopika, you guys are correct. Okay, so let me end the poll, guys, because it's almost, yeah, very good, Likita. It's almost 55 seconds. 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, I have given 1 minute. So let me share the results. The results are somewhat like this. Okay, so most of you have chosen option A and few people have chosen the other options. मतलब बहुत कम लोगों ने choose किया है. So this says that the question is very easy and you are completely okay with this concept, right? So let us see what is the job of cuticle. So what does the cuticle do? Cuticle is first of all a waxy layer, okay, which is supposed to be present over the epidermis. Okay, it present over the epidermis for what? What's the function? It acts as the protection, okay, protective layer for avoiding excess of transpiration or excess of evaporation. Okay, जब भी धूप ज्यादा होती है तो what happens? The water will be evaporated out of the leaves. Okay, so that is avoided by this thick waxy layer of the cuticle. Okay, cuticle of waxy coating. Okay, so waxy layer, so A is 3. Okay, this is easy. Now, bulliform cells. And I had explained yesterday about bulliform cells. These bulliform cells are the specialized cells that are found. Let me write here for you. Okay, bulliform cells are the special cells which are found on monocot leaf. Okay, they're found on the monocot leaf. And what is the job of these bulliform cells? Okay, so these bulliform cells are actually empty ones. Okay, they're empty colorless cells. Okay, whenever there is excess amount of water in the plant or in the leaf, the bulliform cells will absorb and they become turgid. मैंने आपको कल एग्जांपल दिया था, जब आप पानी ज्यादा पी लोगे तो आपका पेट फूल जाएगा, है ना? So that is turgid. Okay, because the pressure is very much inside the cell, so cell will become bulged or swollen. Okay, at that time leaf will be like this, open, flat. ठीक है, open रहेगा. But as soon as there is scarcity of water in the plant and there is lot of heat in the atmosphere, at that time what happens? These bulliform cells will grow shrink. They go shrink and it helps in the turning, okay, curling of the leaf. Monocot leaf के curling में help करता है. Okay, so these bulliform cells will do the curling of the leaf so that the excess amount of transpiration will be avoided. Okay, जब कर्ल होगा तो evaporation and transpiration कम होगा. Okay, so bulliform cells का काम ही ये है. Okay, they become turgid when the excess amount of water is there, and they become flaccid or shrunken when there is a scarcity of water. Okay, so these are empty colorless cells. Okay, so this is B. Okay, now stomata. What are stomata? Stomata is nothing but a small structure which contains the guard cells. And I had drawn this yesterday. So these are the guard cells. Okay, so these two guard cells together we call it as stomata. And from this stomata there will be exchange of gases will happen. Okay, so exchange of gases जो होता है, that happens through this stomata. Okay, and even similar kind of bulliform cells, these stomata will go turgid, मतलब swell होगा, turgid होगा in the presence of water. Okay, at that time they will be open. When the stomata are turgid or swollen, at that time the stomata will be open for the exchange of gases. When this stomata will go flaccid, that means shrunken, उस time पे stomata will be closed. At that time, exchange of gases will not happen. So about this physiology, you will study it entirely and completely when we talk about the plant physiology. Okay. So for now, what you need to understand is C is for 1. Then epidermis. Epidermis is nothing but the layer. Okay, derma means skin. Okay, epi means above any cells. Okay, so epidermis is the above skin that you're seeing here. So this is a skin, and plants के लिए epidermis होता है. So that epidermis in the case of root is called as epiblema. Okay, so D is 2. So which is the correct answer? Okay, ये is the correct answer for this question, guys. This is the easy one. ठीक है, कोई मुश्किल नहीं है. Is there any doubt in this? So we can move ahead, right? Okay, so today we are going to study about the secondary growth. Okay, so I want your complete attention here because this is kind of complicating concept. Not everybody can understand it easily, but I'm trying my best for you to understand the concepts in a very simpler way. Okay, so yeah, so secondary growth. So first of all, मालूम करना है what is growth, है ना? So growth कहाँ से हुआ था? See, a seed is there. You soak the seed, okay, and it germinated to give rise to plumule and radicle. Okay, so that plumule and radicle will grow further, okay, and as they grow, there will be many meristem cells. I hope you know what are meristems. Okay, meristem cells are the actively dividing cells. Okay, they're actually helpful in the producing or in the production of large number of cells. ठीक है, जहां कहीं भी ग्रोथ होता है तो ग्रोथ हैपेंस विद दीज मेरिस्टम सेल्स ओनली. ओके, ये मेरिस्टम सेल्स ही न्यू सेल्स बनाती रहती है बाय एक्टिवली डिवाइडिंग एंड डिफरेंशिएटिंग. ओके, so this is the job of meristem. So I hope you know what are the type of meristems. ठीक है, आपने पढ़ा होगा ना बेटा टाइप ऑफ मेरिस्टम्स. Okay, so you forgot or you remember? Okay, so this is the apical meristem, the topmost meristem. So this is the apical meristem, which helps in the increase in height. Okay, so it helps in the increasing in height. So now there will be an intercalary. Okay, intercalary meristem. यहाँ पे meristem रहेगा intercalary kind of meristem. Okay, so this intercalary meristem will also help in the growth in the sense height. Okay, and little amount of girth also. Girth मतलब ऐसा. Okay, this one. Width, or you can say. Okay, girth is like this. जो चौड़ा कहते हैं ना, so this one. Okay, so intercalary cells are also help in the height or helpful in the height and the girth. Okay, both height and girth. But there is another type of meristem. They are the lateral meristems. Okay, so ये meristem जो है, these lateral meristem, they help only in the girth of the plant. मतलब प्लांट को मोटा बनाने के लिए जो मेरिस्टमैटिक सेल्स चाहिए वो lateral meristems होते हैं. Okay, so these lateral meristems, they tend to actively dividing. Okay, they divide actively and they produce many type of cells and another आगे जाके हम देखेंगे क्या क्या होगा. But this lateral meristem is responsible for increase in the size of the girth. Okay, मोटा बनाता है. Okay, so girth. So these are the meristematic cells. Now let's see this sentence which is taken from your NCERT. The growth of the roots and stem in length is done with the help of apical meristem. See, this is your apical meristem. So usually जो length, that means height. Length here refers to height. Okay, so length or your height is done by the apical meristem. Okay, so usually apical meristem ही आपको height देता है. Okay, so that small plantlet जो grow करते करते एक बड़ा plant बनता है ना, so that is done with the help of apical meristem, and that growth is called as primary growth. मतलब you go wherever you see, okay, a small germinated plantlet will give rise to a plant. Okay, तो कितना जल्दी plant बन जाता है? That is a normal growth, and every plant has to undergo that primary growth. Okay, but there is something called a secondary growth. Okay, which happens in some plants, which doesn't happen in some plants. Okay, see, if we talk about herbaceous plants में secondary growth नहीं होता. Okay, why? Because herbaceous plants grow up to some extent and they just stop growing. Okay, if they grow, stem will be very tender. Okay, and it's very मतलब थोड़ा जोर से झोंक टूट जाएगी वरना गिर जाएगा, तो ऐसा कुछ रहेगा वो. तो usually secondary herbaceous means Shiran, that's what I'm saying, no, herbs. I hope you know the type of this one plants. Okay, type of plants you know, right? Herbs, shrubs, and trees. So herbaceous means when the stem is very slender, बहुत नाजुक सा stem. अभी for example, let me take the example of kothimir, coriander. Okay, coriander is a very small kind of herbaceous plant. आप ना उसको बड़ा मैंगो की झाड़ जितना बनाओगे तो नहीं बनेगा. उसका फितरत ही ऐसा है, वो छोटा herbaceous plant है. ठीक है, उस herbaceous plants में secondary growth नहीं होता. Okay, that's what I'm trying to say. Okay, that is herbaceous, very slender, tender, बहुत पानी पानी सा होता है वो stem में, और वो greenery होती है. Okay, even in the stem there will be chloroplast pigment, so that is called as herbaceous. Okay, so this secondary growth is mostly seen in trees. ज्यादातर trees में मिलता है, and in some shrubs, Okay, yes. So this secondary growth is what is it is doing? It does the increase in the girth of the dicot plant, and this secondary growth का ultimate function क्या होगा? गर्थ देना, मोटापा देना, and giving the mechanical support for the plant. Okay, this too is the function of the secondary growth. Okay, so यहाँ पे देखो girth of the dicot plants. Okay, why they have given dicot? Because most of the monocot plants are herbaceous. Okay, most of the monocots are herbaceous. You can take the example of lily. अच्छा, आपने last chapter में पढ़ा था ना बेटा, lily family. Okay, Liliaceae, Allium cepa, right? So what is that? That is a small herbaceous plant. वहां पे आपको कोई क्या कहते हैं secondary growth मिलेगा, but you will get secondary growth in Cocos nucifera, coconut and areca nut. उसमें आपको secondary growth मिलेगा. So in some monocot you get, in some dicot you get, and some नहीं मिलता है, कुछ में मिलता है. Yeah, yes, Chiran, that's what I said just now. Okay, so now for all these secondary growth to happen, so lateral meristem responsible है. अब ये lateral meristem क्या करता है? कुछ तो खुराफाती काम करता है. ठीक है, तो lateral meristem will take the help of cambium. Okay, so cambium का help लेके secondary growth बनाता है. So here in the plants we are going to see the two types of secondary growth, or you can say two phases of secondary growth. Phases बोल सकते हैं. Okay, so two phases of secondary growth here, and many tissues are involved. Mainly two types of tissues. First one is vascular cambium, and second one is cord cambium. अभी ये इतना आपको ठीक से समझ नहीं आएगा, but when I explain you, after that you can easily relate with this one, vascular and cord cambium. Okay, then let's go to the next slide for better understanding. So now what we are going to study, we are going to, okay, let me change the ink. We are going to study the secondary growth in dicot stem. Okay, तो हम dicot stem में देखेंगे secondary growth कैसे होता है. Okay, so look at the diagram, guys. Just look at this diagram that is, given in your, in your blackboard. ठीक है, तो यहाँ पे. So let me label the this one for you. Organization. Okay, तो क्या labeling है? This one is epidermis. Okay, and this layer will be the cortex. Okay, अभी अब छोड़ो कौन सा cortex में सेल है, मैम पैरेन्काइमा है, कोलनकाइमा है, स्क्लेरेन्काइमा है, कौन सा है, हमें नहीं चाहिए बेटा, बस cortex है उतना देखो, क्योंकि now we are talking about the secondary growth. Okay, so this is your vascular bundle. So beautiful vascular bundle जिनका बहुत important role है, and इस vascular bundle में this purple one is phloem, and this dark green one is xylem, and this part, okay, so this part is what? This part is cambium. Naya हमारा hero. Okay, cambium हमारा hero है, and this cambium that is present between the xylem and phloem, this cambium is also called as इंट्राफेसिकुलर कैम्बियम और फेसिकुलर कैम्बियम, कुछ भी बुला लो बेटा, वन एंड द सेम. ओके, फेसिकुलर or intravesicular cambium. Okay, so this is our hero, so it does the majority of the job. Then, so this part is pith, यहाँ पे ये pith हो गया, and यहाँ पे sclerenchyma, what it is showing, right? It can be a bundle cap. Okay, so this sclerenchyma might be a bundle cap. Okay, and what else? Our side hero is this medullary rays. Okay, ये है medullary rays. Okay, so now you understood everything. So abhi let us see how the secondary growth is going to happen. Let me change the ink. I'm fed up by seeing all the red color here. Okay, तो अभी क्या करेगा? देखो, this cells of medullary rays will get active. Okay, ये cells क्या होंगे? These cells will get active and they transform themselves into the actively meristematic cells. देखो, usually these medullary cells, यहाँ पे जो cells होंगे, they're normal cells. Okay, they're kind of parenchymatous cells. But now the plant wants the secondary growth. अभी normal primary growth बस हो गया भाई, अभी मुझे बड़ा होना है. अभी मैं कितना बच्चा ही रहूंगा, मुझे बड़ा होना है. तो वो जो क्या कहते हैं जज्बा है इस प्लांट का, ओके, वो काम करवा रहा है. Okay, so this medullary cell or the medullary rays, okay, those cells will get active and they transform themselves into meristematic cells from the normal parenchyma cells. Okay, so they get meristematic and they start dividing. Okay, so or you can say dividing or anything like that. Okay, so they will start dividing. Okay, so this is the one phase. एक phase हो गया. अभी क्या हो गया? So this cambium, okay, this cambium or the fascicular cambium present in between the xylem and phloem. So these cells, dividing cells, will join. Okay, so these cells will join the fascicular cambium. Okay, so these cells will join the fascicular cambium. Okay, so abhi dekho, let me change the ink. Let me just take something else. Okay, so this is your normal cambium, and here there will be medullary cells, medullary rays, and here the cells are divided and they tend to join with the cambium. Dekho, aise there will be a joining everywhere. Okay, here, wherever there are medullary ray cells are there. So everywhere the cells will get active, they become meristematic and they start actively dividing, and hence by dividing they join themselves with the intravesicular cambium or fascicular cambium present inside the xylem and phloem. तो ऐसे यहाँ पे ये एक रिंग बना देगा. Okay, so it will form a ring. Okay, so dividing cells will join with the fascicular cambium to form cambium ring. Okay, so this becomes, देखो, intrafascicular cambium था और medullary cells जो है ना, this medullary ray cells, they become the cambium cells. They become cambium cells and eventually it will form the cambium ring. Okay, so these cells will turn into cambium cells. Okay, so it will form the cambium ring. So this is your cambium ring. Okay, so this will be your cambium ring. Now, so cambium ring is done. So now what is going to happen? So this cambium ring will gain the meristematic activity. अभी medullary cells जो थे, medullary ray के cells, उन्होंने meristematic activity gain करके divide करा और ring बनाया. अभी जो ring बना है, this cambium ring, what it will do? It will again, gain the meristematic activity, that means dividing. cells को divide करने की capacity. Okay, so gain the meristematic activity and it starts to divide the cells. Those medullary cells are called interfascicular cambium. Very good, Chirant. My God. Yes, very good. मैं यहाँ पे लिख देती हूँ, मैं भूल गई थी उसको बोलना, मेंशन करना. Very good, you remembered me. Okay, so join the fascicular cambium. But यहाँ पे जो बनेगा ना, so this, अरे it's green in color. Okay, so these cells, what they become? So this cambium is called as interfascicular. मतलब between two cambium, there is another fascicular cambium. So inter and intra, you know, right? Inter means between two. Intra means within two. मतलब किसी दो के अंदर होना. Intra. Inter मतलब किसी दो के बीच में. Okay? Intrafascicular cambium. Okay, so this is your inter and intra. So both this intracambium and interfascicular cambium together form the cambium ring. And now this cambium ring gains the meristematic activity to start dividing the cell. Okay, so it starts dividing cells. So कैसे divide करेगा? It start dividing cells towards both upper and lower. Okay, for example, अभी देखो, this is your cambium. Okay, so this is cambium. So ये cambium में क्या होगा? ये cambium ring है, तो यहाँ पे and यहाँ पे cells will start to divide. Okay, so cells will start to divide. So this meristematic cells, okay, or the cambium cells, they start dividing or they start to cut off both outwards and inwards. Okay, so outwards V, inwards V, they start to cut down, and this inward cut down cells, they will be called as secondary xylem, and this is called as secondary phloem. Okay, so let me just take the next slide. Okay. Okay, so यहाँ पे देखो, so this was interfascicular cambium and it was intrafascicular cambium. So this cambium ring will gain the meristematic activity and it will start to cut off cells both outwards and inwards. So outward cells, okay, so outward cells, we call them as secondary phloem, and inward division of cells, so we call them as secondary xylem. Okay, so now if you ask me, ma'am, if they are called as secondary phloem and secondary xylem, which is the primary phloem and primary xylem? This is the primary phloem and primary xylem. मतलब एपिकल मेरिस्टम से जब ग्रोथ हुआ था ना, प्राइमरी ग्रोथ के टाइम पे प्राइमरी phloem and xylem was already existing. Now secondary growth is happening, so here comes the secondary phloem and secondary xylem. Okay, so here and here the cells will start to cut off. Okay, so after this, okay, so हर जगह पे कट डाउन होके एक लेयर बना देगा. Okay, so everywhere, as you know, cambium ring bana hai. So all towards the cambium ring, there will be the cut-off cells towards the inward and outward. It makes the layer of cells. You can see here. Okay, so this layer is actually the cambium ring. Okay, so this is cambium ring. Where is cambium ring? Where it is written? कहाँ पे लिखा है cambium ring? Okay, so they have written vascular cambium. Okay, so vascular cambium है. So vascular cambium से ये cambium ring बना था. Okay, so cambium ring बना था. इस cambium ring में देखो, this is the primary phloem and this is primary xylem. And here, okay, this towards the inner side, this is the primary xylem and this one is the outer one is the, sorry, secondary xylem and secondary phloem. देखो, so this is secondary phloem and this is secondary xylem. I told you, right? Inwards it will be secondary xylem, outward there will be. So it has already formed the ring-like structure. Okay, I have already questions on the chat box. Let me read them. Ma'am, when plant is taking its secondary growth, is both processes itself develop at primary, secondary, tertiary cell wall, increasing the number of cells? No, 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 no. They never happen simultaneously, Akshay. First, primary growth will happen. Okay, primary growth will happen. So after that, secondary growth will take place. So when we're talking about secondary growth, first the vascular cambium से secondary xylem and secondary phloem आएगा. उसके बाद यहाँ पे cork cambium होगा. Okay, उसके बाद cork cambium होगा. उसके बाद और processes हैं. So all these things doesn't happen simultaneously. There is a procedure. First, vascular cambium will divide to give rise to secondary xylem and secondary phloem. Then cork cambium will be there. Cork cambium will give rise to the phellum and phloem. ठीक है. So whatever that is, sorry, secondary cortex. तो वो एक इसमें होता है. Okay. So if that cambium divide into xylem and phloem, so which one form the cambium between them? There is already cambium, no? So this is the cambium. ठीक है, अभी ये cambium है. Okay, so cambium already यहाँ पे है, तो यहाँ पे secondary xylem and secondary phloem is happening. Okay, so this is what. So Chirant, you are asking me which part to explain once again. I'll just brush up. Okay. ठीक है, तो क्या हुआ था? Our cambium ring has formed. Okay, so that cambium ring will gain the meristematic activity and it will start to cut off the cells or divide the cells. So the divided cells are giving inward cells and outward cells. The outward cells will form an entire row-like, layer. We call it as the secondary phloem, and the inner one is secondary xylem. ठीक है, तो ये secondary xylem and secondary phloem रहेगा. Now this primary phloem will retain as it is, more or less. But this, ये जो primary phloem है ना बेटा, where is primary phloem? Where they have. Okay, so look at this primary xylem. Okay, so this primary xylem will retain. Okay, so primary xylem will retain its structure. Okay, retain its structure, but primary phloem will join with secondary phloem soon, because there will be increase in pressure towards inside. देखो जितना ग्रो होता जाएगा, अंदर प्रेशर बढ़ता जाएगा, जो प्रेशर बनेगा, तो that pressure will lead to the pushing of the cells towards outwards. Okay, so इस direction में push होंगे cells. Okay, when these pushing cells will happen, so eventually this primary phloem and the secondary phloem will join together to form a single layer. Okay, so now as you can see, primary xylem is retained, secondary xylem is joined with the secondary phloem. Now what happens? Medullary rays will originate. So what medullary rays? Secondary medullary rays will originate. So ma'am, where will this medullary rays will be? Don't worry, I will show you where this medullary rays will be. तो देखो medullary rays यहाँ पे. Okay, so all over here there will be a formation of medullary rays. Okay, now this medullary rays, what will do? This medullary rays will again gain the meristematic activity and they will again give rise to the phloem and xylem. मतलब एक बैच ऑफ सेकेंडरी ग्रोथ हो गया. ओके, दिस सेकेंडरी ग्रोथ का फर्स्ट बैच है ये, फर्स्ट xylem and phloem. But this kind of division will keep on happening. एक सेकेंडरी डिविजन हो गया, ठीक है, उससे medullary rays बना. From that medullary rays, again second time secondary xylem secondary will come. Again medullary rays will come. Again from those medullary rays, secondary growth will happen. So 3 बार, 4 बार, 5 बार, बहुत बार, rings will happen. The rings will again divide into xylem and phloem. That leads to the formation of annual rings. Okay, so when they keep on dividing, okay, so after after, many secondary ग्रोथ डिवीजन और ग्रोथ, एक मिनट इसको मैं ठीक से लिखती हूँ यहाँ पे। आफ्टर मेनी सेकेंडरी ग्रोथ डिविजन्स, okay, so what happens, layers of, okay, so layers of secondary xylem and secondary phloem will originate. Okay, so here also many layers of secondary xylem and secondary phloem will originate, eventually give rise to the annual rings. उसको हम बोलते हैं annual rings. Okay, it gives rise to the annual rings. Don't worry, I will explain you what annual rings are. Okay, so अभी के लिए इतना secondary growth समझ आ गया. Okay, yes, so let me show you the next slide. यहाँ पे देखो, you can understand very clearly. Okay, so initially this was the normal primary growth वाला. Okay, so primary growth वाला stem है ये. Okay, so अभी यहाँ पे क्या बना, you can see here cambium ring is formed. Okay, so cambium ring is formed. So after cambium ring, they start to divide. Okay, so division towards inward and outward. So inward में क्या होगा? So towards inward, secondary xylem will be given, and towards outer, secondary phloem will be given. As there is an increase in pressure in the stem, so secondary phloem will join with the primary phloem. देखो ये है आपका primary. Okay, primary xylem will stay as it is, but secondary phloem, primary phloem दोनों mix कर जाएंगे. देखो ये आपका हो गया. Okay, so this what you're seeing this. So ये okay, this is primary plus secondary phloem. Okay, so they will join. Now, so ऐसे ना बहुत सारे rings बनेंगे, मैंने बोला. So after one formation of xylem and phloem secondary ring, medullary rays will be given, and those medullary rays will give again and again many divisions will happen. So that will lead to the annual rings. Okay, so actually when we talk about the, in the botany, one ring will be given, one or two rings, you can write one or two rings will be given each year. Okay, in each year ऐसा होता है. Okay, so by this annual rings we can estimate the age of the tree. Okay, जितने बार secondary growth हुआ है, जितना annual rings हैं, उसके हिसाब से we can estimate. Okay, we can estimate the age. Okay, age of the tree, and this study is called as dendrochronology. Okay, इसको हम कहते हैं dendrochronology. Okay, right, so this is about the secondary growth with vascular cambium. अभी तक हमने सिर्फ vascular cambium का secondary growth देखा है, cork cambium का नहीं देखा है ना. So sorry, so this was the cambium. So सिर्फ हमने vascular cambium का देखा है. Okay, यहाँ पे और एक secondary cambium बनेगा. Okay, another दूसरा cambium, वो now we are going to see that. Okay, that we are going to see. So before that, let me tell you something. Okay, so with vascular cambium, I told you, chapter became easy if medullary rays are not there. Yes, Chiran, but medullary rays, they are doing their job. देखो first medullary rays में ही meristematic activity होगी, ring बनेगा, फिर again ring के बाद बहुत सारे secondary xylems and secondary phloems will be there, and that will give rise to the many annual rings. Okay, so जब vascular cambium का activity होगा, so at that time you're going to get the two type of wood. Let me tell you, wood is nothing but xylem. I think you have studied this, है ना? As you have already studied about the this one xylem and phloem के बारे में आपने पढ़ा है ना? So the type of xylems, all the cells. So there, Yudhishthir sir might have told you xylem means wood. Okay, So whereas phloem means hard, bast, another word. ठीक है? हाँ. So अभी autumn wood, spring wood मतलब they're talking about xylem. ठीक है? They're talking about xylem. So एक साल में 2 बार बनेगा xylem का ring. ठीक है? So what that we call, so first one will be the spring wood. Okay. So what is spring? Do you know what is the spring season? Okay. Do you know spring season? So spring means this is the season that comes just after the winter. Okay. So after winter, मैं यहाँ पे लिख देती हूँ बेटा. कुछ लोगों को spring और autumn ही नहीं पता होता. ठीक है, मैं बता रही हूँ बस. ठीक है, तो spring क्या है? This is the season which comes after winter, and in the spring season, the growth of the medullary rays and the growth of the xylem will be highly active. यहाँ पे बहुत highly active होता है. Okay, so very highly active. ठीक है, so spring season है after winter वाला season. At that time the secondary growth will be very active because this secondary growth, ठीक है, is influenced by the physical factors and the environmental factors. जैसे temperature कैसा है, moisture है या नहीं है, ठीक है, क्या कहते हैं, what other than that, wind कितना मिल रहा है, so everything. Okay, physiology and the physical conditions सबके ऊपर depend होता है. So in the spring there is much division of xylem will happen, and that's why it is going to give the very thick wood. You can see here spring wood is the very thick wood, whereas this autumn wood is very small ring. Okay, so this is spring wood. Okay, so this one is spring wood, and this one, this part, dark color part is the autumn wood. Okay, so इसमें जो wood बनेगा ना, spring wood is also called as early wood. Okay, it's also called as early wood and spring wood. Okay, so let me tell. So now autumn, which is the autumn? मैम वेर इज नो फ्लोएम. हाँ बेटा, मैंने बोला ना, देखो यहाँ पे सारा फ्लोएम यहाँ पे आ गया. मतलब ये सारा जाइलम है. दिस एंटायर थिंग इज जाइलम. फ्लोएम प्राइमरी सेकेंडरी के साथ मिलके वो पुश करते जाता है बेटा. आई विल एक्सप्लेन यू दैट. अभी कॉर्केंडियम बोलूंगी ना तब बोलूंगी. वो फ्लोएम, सेकेंडरी फ्लोएम एंड प्राइमरी फ्लोएम मिलके इट विल स्टार्ट पुशिंग. जैसे वो पुश करता जाएगा, फाड़ते जाएगा. एपिडर्मिस को फाड़ देगा, कॉर्टेक्स को फाड़ देगा, फिर वहां पे और जाके कुछ ना कुछ खुराफाती आइडिया करेगा. तो हम वो देखेंगे. ठीक है, सो ऑटम is this is the season after summer. Okay, this is the season after summer. Okay, so here what happens, the division is less active. Okay, so बहुत कम activity होगी. So only small amount of xylem, secondary xylem will be produced. Okay, so इस secondary xylem को हम कहते हैं autumn wood. Okay, so as you see, this is the small ring जो है ना, this small ring, this is the very small kind of ring. Okay, so इसके बाद I will tell you about the this one. Okay, sapwood, heartwood, वो मैं आपको next class में explain करूंगी. Okay, so for now remember this springwood, or you can say this springwood is very light. Okay, very light even in color and even in density. ठीक है, इसका देखो कलर कितना फीका फीका कलर है और हल्का सा होता है. बट दिस ऑटम, ऑटम पार्ट इज वेरी स्ट्रॉन्गर वन, क्योंकि बहुत टाइम से बना है, राइट. सो ऑटम वुड हैज टेकन लार्जर टाइम टू मेक, सो हेंस इट बिकम्स वेरी कंडेंसर, वेरी डार्कर एंड वेरी हाई डेंसिटी, विथ हाई डेंसिटी. ठीक है, तो इतना आप देख लो. In the next class I will explain you about the hardwood and sapwood. Now let's come to the another phase of the division. Okay, तो एक phase हो गया vascular cambium का division. Okay, which gives rise to the secondary xylem and secondary phloem. अभी जो secondary phloem बना था ना बेटा, so I told you that secondary and primary phloem, they join together and they start pushing they start to push the cells of the cortex and epidermis. हमने अभी सिर्फ vasculature के बारे में पढ़ा है ना. So एक सेकेंड. Okay, so there will be the cortex and xylem. ठीक है, so यहाँ पे मैं आपको बताती हूँ. Okay, so look here. See, here the cambium ring is produced and the activity is happening only here. Okay, so by this activity, phloem will be pushed towards outwards. So that will result in the rupture of cortex and epidermis. तो अभी हम देखेंगे cortex and epidermis में क्या क्या change होने वाला है. Okay, so let me tell you here. Let's understand this sentence. As the stem continues to increase in girth, कैसे increase in girth होगा? Because कितना xylem grow हो रहा है ना? Xylem is growing much more compared to the phloem. तो phloem को grow होने के लिए जगह ही नहीं है. सारा xylem ही grow हो रहा है ना? तो yeah, due to the activity of vascular cambium, the outer cortical and epidermis layer get broken. देखो अंदर से इतना प्रेशर आ रहा है यार फ्लोएम का. फ्लोएम बोल रहा है कि अभी मैं बाहर जाके ही मानूंगा. बेचारा उसको बाहर निकलने के लिए रास्ते में कॉर्टेक्स एंड एपिडर्मिस है, उसको पार करके जाना है. सो उस टाइम पे क्या होगा? अर्जेंट में जाने के इट इज गोइंग टू टेयर ओपन द कॉर्टेक्स एंड एपिडर्मिस. सो व्हेन दैट टेयरिंग विल हैपन, so देखो in every living organism, so when something is teared, our bodies or the living organism body have the capacity to replace those cells with the active good cells, like the protective cells. Abhi you have got a wound or a cut somewhere in your hand, so with some days you're going to be healed. That wound is going to be healed by making again a very good layer of skin, है ना? तो ऐसे ही आपके ट्री में होता है, आपके स्टेम में. So how it is going to be replaced? It is to be replaced by providing a new protective cell layers. ठीक है? तो protective cell layers बनेंगे. So how this cell layer will happen? That is the mystery. ठीक है? सेल लेयर्स बनेंगे तो कैसे बनेंगे? वो बनेंगे कॉर्क कैम्बियम से. अभी मैं आपको एक्सप्लेन करूंगी सेकेंड फेज ऑफ द secondary growth. Okay, so here comes the secondary phase. Now, okay, let me just okay, so as you know, there was cortex and epidermis. So they are ruptured and new cells, new protective cells are forming. Okay, so how they are forming? See, some cells of cortex gain the meristematic activity. Okay, gain the meristematic activity. Okay, as so it gives rise to what? Okay, so meristematic activity cells बना रहा है तो dividing of cells will happen. So these cells, okay, so these cells form a cork cambium, form a cambium kind of ring, and that cambium is called as cork cambium. ठीक है? सो अभी क्या हुआ? कुछ सेल्स थे कॉर्टेक्स के, दे आर गेनिंग द मेरिस्टेमेटिक एक्टिविटी. मतलब अभी वो सेल्स दे हैव द कैपेसिटी, दे आर tend to getting the capacity of division. So when the cells are dividing, all those divided cells will form again a cambium ring. Again they will form cambium ring, and that cambium ring is called as cork cambium. And where it is happening? It is happening in the cortex region. कॉर्टेक्स रीजन में हो रहा है. अभी ये कॉर्क कैम्बियम क्या करेगा? देखो कैम्बियम का मतलब ही क्या है मैं तुमको बता देती हूँ. साइड में नोट बना के लिख लो बेटा, बहुत काम आएगा. Okay, so whenever you are studying about cambium, cambium is nothing but, okay, dividing cells to give rise to secondary growth. This is your note. Okay, give rise to the secondary growth. जहां कहीं भी cambium है, cambium's job is to start activating itself and start dividing to give rise to many secondary growth cells. Okay, अगर secondary growth होगा तो cells बनेंगे, तो आगे का कहानी बनेगा. अभी ये जो cork cambium बना है, so this cork cambium, so just like the vascular cambium, this cork cambium will divide both outward and inward. Okay, outward and inward. Okay, so cork cambium divide outward and inward. Okay, so the outer division, okay, जो cells outer corner में बनेगा, so these cells are called as cork or phellum. I'll show you the diagram, don't worry. For now, let's just understand the concept. Okay, so the cork cambium के अंदर, okay, you can resemble with the vascular cambium. Vascular cambium से outer secondary phloem, inner secondary xylem. In the cortex of the cork cambium जो cortex में है, इसमें भी division हो रहा है, giving rise to the cells or cut off cells into outwards and inward. So outerward cells will be the cork or phellum, and this will again a single layer. Okay, so the outer single layer बनेगा ये. Okay, so outermost single layer, and inner one is called as secondary cortex. देखो, एक cortex primary cortex से secondary cortex भी बन गया. बताओ यार. Okay, secondary cortex are also called as, अरे रे, we directly entered here. यहाँ पे नहीं है. Just give me a second. Phelloderm. Okay, or phelloderm. Phelloderm or secondary cortex. Okay, so this secondary cortex will be the replaced good cells. Okay, and the outermost cells are the cork and phellum. Okay, this is the outermost one. Okay, outermost will be the cork or phellum. Towards inside there will be cork cambium, or also called as phellogen. इसको बोलते हैं phellogen. Okay, so after phellogen or cork cambium, you will get the secondary cortex or phelloderm. Okay, so all these three layers, okay, so cork, phellum, and phelloderm, all these three layers are called as bark. अरे यार मैं क्यों बार बार यहाँ पे आ रही हूँ? देखो, look here. Okay, so this one is cork, also called as phellum. Okay, so inside this there will be a cork cambium, or also called as cork cambium, or also called as क्या था भाई वो? What was that? मैं भूल जाती हूँ यार. Phellogen. Okay, तो इसके अंदर और एक लेयर रहेगा. मतलब इस डायग्राम में ठीक से नहीं बताया है बेटा. So just you can write it like this. The outer one will be this one, and inner one will be this one, and inside this, मतलब somewhere here, okay, so there will be another layer, okay, that is phelloderm or secondary cortex. Okay, so all these three together we call it as periderm. Okay, so all these three we call it as periderm, and periderm along with bark is called as, sorry, periderm along with phloem is called as bark. I will write here beta. Okay, so कहाँ पे लिखूं? यहाँ पे लिखूं? नहीं. Did you get it? Did you get what I said just now? I will write here. Okay, so first is, कोई बात नहीं सचिन, phellum or cork, then phellogen. Give me a second, Sachin, I will explain you once again. Or cork cambium, and inside phelloderm. derm, or also called as secondary cortex, and these three layers we call it as periderm. ठीक है, इतना समझ में आ गया? Now you understood, right? See, so the cortex cells, some of the cortex cells, they gain the meristematic activity and they form the ring, they form the cambium ring. ठीक है, so जो cambium ring बना है, for that cambium ring we call it as cork cambium. That cork cambium will divide both outwards and inwards to give some cells. And what are those cells? Okay, so this is the cork cambium. Okay, this is going to divide. So outer cell will be the phellum or cork layer. Inside to the cork cambium, there will be phelloderm or secondary cortex. Okay, so all these three layers we together call it as periderm. Okay, so now let me write here. So periderm plus phloem. So either you can take the, यहाँ पे मैं bracket में लिखती हूँ, primary or secondary, कुछ भी हो, doesn't matter. Okay, periderm and phloem मिला के we call bark. This might be asked in NEET. Okay, bark का definition. Bark में क्या होता है? Periderm होता है and phloem होता है. Okay, you can see here. Okay, so from here to here, this is completely wood. Okay, this is completely wood. Okay, so this green part, okay, so you can see here, this green part is nothing but the phloem. Okay, so phloem, बस primary phloem, secondary phloem मिलके बस इतना ही phloem है. इसके बाहर सारा जो भी है, that is periderm. Okay, मतलब यहाँ पे जितना भी है, this everything is periderm. Okay, so when we say bark, bark includes periderm and phloem. So इतना छोड़ देंगे तो सारा wood ही बचेगा. And sapwood, heartwood, I'm going to explain it tomorrow. Did you understand now? If you guys still have any doubts, please ask me now. Any doubts? If you want me to repeat it once again, I'll do it for you. मतलब starting से अब तक. Just like a small picture. Should I do it? Should I revise it once again? Okay. Okay, let me take the diagram. हाँ, इसमें देखते हैं. Okay, so first what happened? देखो सिर्फ diagram देखना बेटा और कुछ मत देखना. Just look at the diagram and listen to my explanation. Okay, so there was a small plant, okay, where only primary growth was happening. Now the plant decided to grow more. Okay, it want to grow much longer and in a गर्ती, मतलब बहुत मोटा होना है और बहुत बड़ा होना है. प्लांट ने डिसाइड किया कि अब हम सेकेंडरी ग्रोथ करेंगे. तो सेकेंडरी ग्रोथ करने के लिए कौन सा मेरिस्टम यूज हुआ है? लैटरल मेरिस्टम. Okay, with the help of lateral meristem, secondary growth is happening. Now, so in secondary growth, you are going to see the two phases. Okay, you are going to see the two phases, which includes two types of cambium. First one is vascular cambium, and the second one is the cork cambium. Okay, so look here. See, this is what I was saying. Okay, so two phases includes two types of cambium. One is vascular cambium, another is cork cambium. Now let us see what is going to happen in the vascular system. Okay, so first what happens? Okay, fascicular cambium. Okay, and this medullary ray cells. पहले क्या होगा? Medullary cells, medullary ray में जो cells हैं, they decide to start the actively division. They start to they start the division, and it makes the many cells, and those cells will form with the fascicular cambium that is present within the xylem and phloem. Xylem and phloem के बीच में जो fascicular cambium है, that will join with the newly formed cambium from the medullary rays, and that cambium is called as interfascicular cambium. Now this interfascicular cambium and intrafascicular cambium join together to form a cambium ring. Okay, cambium ring ban gaya. Now after cambium ring is formed, See, I told you, cambium ring means it has the capacity of actively dividing, है ना? Actively dividing करने की capacity है, so it will start to divide to give rise to the secondary phloem and xylem. ठीक है? So cambium ring will start dividing cells both outwards and inwards. Okay? So outwards क्या देगा? So secondary means second time, beta. Okay, you can say like that. Amit, let me just explain first. Okay, so secondary phloem or secondary xylem. So outer cells will be the secondary phloem and inner cells will be the secondary xylem. Okay, so after the formation of secondary xylem and phloem, secondary medullary rays will form. Okay, medullary rays जो मैंने यहाँ पे black color में जो line लिखा है, that is secondary medullary rays. So these medullary cells will again get the meristematic activity. They again make the cambium ring. That again will give rise to the secondary xylem and secondary phloem. ठीक है? तो ऐसे बहुत सारे secondary medullary rays will happen, and many secondary phloem and xylem will be given. Okay, so these many number of secondary xylem and phloem will give rise to the two type of wood that we saw, right? Sapwood or heartwood are also called as springwood or autumn wood. So these layers of wood are the annual rings, and that annual rings are calculated to estimate the age of the tree, and that study is called as dendrochronology. Okay, so now the primary xylem will remain intact. मतलब पहले कैसा था वैसा ही primary xylem रहेगा, but primary phloem will go and join with the secondary phloem. ठीक है? So as the xylem increases, ठीक है, autumn wood बना, spring wood बना, जैसे बहुत सारा xylem बन रहा है, बनते बनते what this xylem will do? This xylem will push the primary phloem and secondary phloem towards outside as the pressure increases. ठीक है? So this pushing of xylem will lead to the rupture of the cortex and epidermis. So अब cortex and epidermis rupture हो गया है, ठीक है? So now what happens? Some cells of the cortex, okay? So some cells of the cortex, what they do? Okay, so some cells of the cortex, they gain the meristematic activity and they make a cambium ring. ठीक है? सो कॉर्टेक्स में वो डिसाइड करेंगे कि नहीं अभी हमें क्या करते हैं, हीलिंग करनी है. ठीक है, कॉर्टेक्स की एंड एपिडर्मिस की हीलिंग करनी है, न्यू सेल्स बनाने हैं. न्यू सेल्स कहाँ से बनते हैं? हमेशा मेरिस्टम से बनते हैं. तो मेरिस्टमैटिक सेल्स बनाते हैं. So those meristematic cells will give rise to the another cambium ring. That cambium ring is called as cork cambium or also called as phellogen. ठीक है? So cork cambium or phellogen. Now, so this cork cambium will obviously have the capacity for secondary growth. है ना? Cambium मतलब it gives rise to the secondary growth. So that cork cambium will start dividing or start to cut off cells both towards outwards and inwards. The cells which are found outwards, we call them as cork or phellum. Okay, and those cork or phellum will make a one ring, that is the outermost ring of the stem. Okay, and the cells which are formed inside the cork cambium, we call them as secondary cortex or phelloderm. Okay, so cork cambium से cork and phellum बना, and then towards inside secondary cortex and phelloderm बना. So these three layers, okay, these three layers we together call them as periderm. Okay, इन तीन को मिला के हम बुलाते हैं periderm. Okay, so this periderm along with the phloem is called as bark. Okay, that is called as bark. Okay, so this much is enough for today. Okay, मतलब आगे की क्लास में what we will do, we will understand the formation of lenticels. Okay, in next class we will see the formation of lenticels. See, don't leave the class yet. I can see people are leaving. Don't leave the class. It's your loss. Okay. So formation of lenticels, and we are going to see the this one. What is that? Sapwood and heartwood, and the secondary growth in root. अभी तो हमने stem में देखा है ना, तो root में भी देखेंगे. So now there is a question on the screen which I want you to answer. Okay, so the given figure shows the secondary growth in dicot stem and they're marked as ABCD up to F. So you have to understand the labelings. Okay, labelings you have to understand. Okay. So Amit, you are asking secondary means what? देखो बेटा, secondary primary is a very basic concept. देखो, primary means something that has formed before. Okay, something that has formed before, and secondary means something that is formed after. See, even though when we are talking about sexual organs, ठीक है, हम humans में भी क्या होता है Amit? There are some characters which are innate, मतलब हमारे पैदाइशी characters होते हैं, they are primary characters. But when we attain the puberty or adolescence के stage पे, when we go now, at that time we get the secondary characters. In the case of females, okay, with the help of progesterone and estrogen hormones, secondary क्या कहते हैं, growth होता है, formation of breast, formation of hair in the armpits and in the pubic region. Okay, then they start getting menstrual cycles. In the case of men, with the help of testosterone, they start to get the hair on the pelvic region. तो ये सब secondary क्या कहते हैं, कैरेक्टर्स हैं. ठीक है, सेकेंडरी मतलब जो बाद में आते हैं, प्राइमरी इज योर इनिशियल, वो आपका अस्तित्व बताता है. ऐसा आप याद रखो बेटा. एंड आई एम एक्सप्लेनिंग दिस इन रिगार्ड्स विद द बायोलॉजी. Now I'm launching the poll. I can see many people have started answering. So I have given enough time for you to analyze the options here. Okay. Good. Good, Gopika. Okay. So I'm ending the poll, guys. I've already given enough time. Okay, I'll give few seconds more. Okay, now I'm ending the poll. Let me share the results with you. So results are somewhat like this. Actually, it's a tie between A and D, and other options are B and C. Okay, so most of you have chosen A and D, that is tie actually. Okay, let me stop sharing and let's understand. Okay, so A is what? A is the outermost layer. Okay, that is phellum. Okay, so this A is the outermost layer. Okay, so inside the phellum, there will be a cork cambium, or also called as phellogen. है ना? So cork cambium or phellogen. So inside this, there will be another layer. उस layer को हम कहते हैं secondary cortex और phelloderm. ठीक है, वो हो गया आपका phelloderm. Now, this C refers to the medullary rays. Okay, C refers to medullary rays and D refers to the secondary xylem. See, this layer is the vascular cambium. Okay, so this ring is the, I will write here. So this ring is the vascular cambium. So vascular cambium के अंदर obviously secondary xylem रहेगा, है ना? So this is what, this D is nothing but the secondary xylem. Now this E, what is E? E is nothing but the secondary phloem. Okay, and this F, एक second. अच्छा, so this is also another cambium ring. मतलब already there, it has started, क्या बोलते हैं उसको, दूसरी टाइम पे secondary growth होना start हो गया है. Okay, so this is also vascular cambium. Okay, this is also vascular cambium, or you can also write it as the cambium ring, but this is first cambium ring. Okay, so this is first secondary growth wala cambium ring, and this vascular ring, this is the second ring. Okay, so both are vascular cambium only, because the second ring is the first ring. So let us see which is the correct answer for this question. Phellum, phellogen, मिडिल, हाँ अच्छा ये रॉन्ग हो गया। फेलम, फेलोजन, ये भी रॉन्ग हो गया। यूटिलिटी रेस, okay, so this is also wrong because here outer one is phellem and inner one is phelogen. Okay, so the correct answer for this question is A, guys. Okay, ये है. Okay, okay, so are you clear? Do you guys have any doubts? Do you guys have any doubts? Please, if you have any doubts, please make sure to ask me in the chat box. Meanwhile, I have launched the teacher NPS. Please give the review before going out of the class or leaving the class. Okay, very good, Ashwin and Gopika. Do you guys have any doubts? Please make sure to ask in the chat box if you have any. Okay, so are you clear? Did you understand the secondary growth completely? Secondary growth of dicot stem? Yes? Give me a thumbs up if you have understood it clearly. Easy है बेटा, बस इसको एक एक connectivity में पढ़ते जाओ, easy लगेगा. Okay, so give me thumbs up in the participants or in the chat. Okay, so I guess there is nothing much. Okay, so this is your second class wala cheese. Okay, so your homework is what? Your homework is to read the NCERT and then you have to what is that? Solve the module questions. ठीक है, वो आप देख लेना. Ma'am, I'm confused between phellem and phelogen, so I chose C. Please one time show that image again. See beta, Chiran. See, always the outer one is phellem. ठीक है, बाहर वाला जो होता है ना, एक सेकेंड बेटा, एक मिनट. या थैंक यू गोपिका. अरे where did it go? Okay, so this is the diagram that is given in your NCERT. So we'll talk about this diagram only. Otherwise, do from cork cambium. Cork cambium outer phellem or cork has obtained, and from cork cambium inner secondary cortex and phelloderm has obtained. So obviously outer one will be the phellem, and towards the inside of the phellem you will get the phellogen. Okay, phellogen is nothing but the cork cambium. So inside the phellogen यहाँ पे भी कोई लेयर होगा. ठीक है, तो आपके एनसीईआरटी में देखो यार, आधे तो चीजें गलत देते हैं. ठीक है, तो उसके बाद में और एक लेयर उनको डालना चाहिए था, उन्होंने डाला नहीं. ठीक है, तो यहाँ पे there will be an another called as phelloderm. ठीक है, so this phelloderm, phellogen and phellem together we call them as periderm. ठीक है, तो इन सबको मिला के हम बोल देंगे periderm. Okay, so this is the phases of this one. What is that? Cork cambium and vascular cambium in the secondary growth. Okay, so here you can see Chirant in the option C. Why I have cancelled out this, because A is the outermost layer. Okay, and that outermost layer is supposed to be phellem. Okay, so उसके अलावा phellem के अंदर आपको phellogen आएगा. So here they have shown vice versa. Okay, so that's why C is wrong. Okay, so ये vice versa है. It was supposed to be like this. Any other doubts? If you have any doubts, you can ask me. Or otherwise, you can leave. Thank you, Chetana. I'm glad to hear that. Okay, there are still more people to answer in the poll, but many have not answered. They've just went. No, no worries. क्या कर सकते हैं अब? Okay. So if you have any doubts, you can ask. Otherwise, I'll end the meeting. Okay. Okay. Bye, guys. Take care. Okay, and study hard. Yes. Chalo. Bye bye.